when the Migos dropped a song called Chinatown. It led to a whole new era in rap music that quickly started to get oversaturated. But one thing this wave in Atlanta doesn't get credit for is the fact that they started a wave of just getting on the track and saying anything. Little did they know how influential this would be for the upcoming Soundcloud era. When Takeoff said he was smoking on gas with Obama, and guys like Skipper the Flipper and all them were out, I knew that rap was headed somewhere, but I just didn't know where it was going to end up. But if you were in high school around this time, like Cardi, Uzi, Trippie, X, and even Lil Pump, then you'll know that this kind of sparked an idea that created a whole new wave. This is a time when the main rap people heard was like Lil Wayne and Drake, and yeah, that's cool and all, but there was nothing for the average kid to listen to. Until one day in 2015, a song called Broke Boy blew up on Soundcloud. And despite Cardi being from Atlanta, this was completely separate from the Atlanta wave that was going on. Then, some random ass kid from Florida popped up on the internet freestyling and not being able to do math.
You're going 70 miles per hour. How long would it take you to drive 70 miles? 70, nigga?
And I guess really 3 random ass kids from Florida all popped up at the same time. Meanwhile in Chicago, drill was kind of fading because the labels weren't interested in signing drill rappers anymore. They signed Chief Keef and that was pretty much it. But if you wanted to blow up, you had to find another way to do it. And wouldn't you know it, this led to the clout chasing era. And at this time, a very eccentric guy in Chicago realized everybody out here rapping about shooting and gangbanging, but ain't nobody having fun. And that's when he said, I'm back now. Hit him with it 2 times. And then he was one of the hottest rappers in the country.
I went from Inglewood to Hollywood.
And I always bring up Famous Dex because him really blowing up in 2016 showed exactly how music was changing. He used to hang around guys like Chicago drill pioneer FBG Duck, who was actually rapping way before him, but in 1 year, Dex did what guys like FBG Duck just couldn't do at the time. Drill was the most popular music coming out of Chicago, but by 2016, it started to fall off. Since at this point, everybody just wanted to have fun. And the wave that Dex hopped on and kind of pioneered also happened to fit with this random kid from Philly that was starting to get popular. And remember, today we talk about how the kids are all brain rotted, consuming the most random content and kind of dumb, but in reality, we were the idiots consuming random content and making up stupid challenges that got people hurt on social media before anybody else. The first ever generation in human history to consume social media as a child. And this obviously had an effect on music, because you can talk about older guys that were making music at the time who you might have been a fan of. But the fact is, from 2013 to 2017, the SoundCloud rappers is what majority of kids at the time heard at parties, at school, and in their headphones. Going live became a thing, and it was like a completely underground world of music, festivals, and culture that the older generation had no clue about, partially because the rappers in their audience were all the same age. And again, this was the first generation that spent all day on social media, because 10 years before 2015, phones didn't even have apps yet, but that's when rap fully shifted away from the hood to the party. My point in saying all that is to say that the SoundCloud era was the era in rap where gangs, your hood, your ops, none of that mattered to the labels or the fans. Of course, after 2018, as you know, with the rise of King Von and Lil Durk becoming mainstream, the narrative switched again. But during the SoundCloud era, I witnessed people driving across the country to go to these underground shows. You could just pop into any party in Chicago, New York, Atlanta, or LA and run into somebody that was blowing up on SoundCloud, and how you genuinely had a better shot at blowing up during that time if you dropped a lot of music. Now, some parts of this era were very strange. It was the beginning of what clout chasing is today, like I said, so there was a lot of stuff happening that wasn't very influential and it was just kind of stupid. Like, you know how from 2016 to 2017, anybody could be a rapper. Jake Paul was rapping Whoa Vicky, but then you had the parts of it that I personally think were really cool, like Young Lean. We just not gonna gloss over the fact that he built a cult following in the US while rapping in a very heavy Swedish accent, accompanied by some very, very high quality music videos. The most significant thing about this era isn't really the vibe, as some people will say, it's the fact that it kind of made music fun again. But why did all of this happen? I'm not going to pretend that music isn't a distraction, because I remember days in high school where it seemed like I just listened to music and watched music videos all day. And yes, it had an effect on my stupid teenage brain. I wanted to go out and do what I saw in the music videos. Everybody always looked like they was having so much fun. And I did. Although it was fun, I probably could have spent some of that time, I don't know, being more responsible. I mean, I didn't graduate from high school, but I still made it to university where, once again, I didn't graduate. I kind of wasted a lot of time, playing essentially. And that's when I started to wonder, was this just a game plan for the music industry at the time? Obviously, if the underground rappers use a certain style and everybody listens to it, the labels are going to pick some of the guys up, make them rich, or at least look rich, and this leads to many more rappers coming out using a similar style because they want to ride around in nice cars and do big shows too. But for all the fun this era was, I wonder which was a worse influence on the youth. Obviously, any media, since the internet came out, can produce some sort of argument that it had a negative effect on the youth. But the SoundCloud era, man, a lot of kids in my generation would try and lean for the first time, even sipping fake lean to look cool, and everything else. I mean, it was all over the country. When I was in college, my homie was messing with this super rich girl that was out there on a sports scholarship, and she told us to come to her volleyball game. And I guess she was doing pretty good. I don't really understand the rules of volleyball, but she was pretty excited because she came up to us in the middle of the game and said, "Did you see that? I did that and I just popped 2 Xans." I'm like, damn, in the middle of the game. And this is also when Lucky, a Chicago rapper who also kind of pushed the same type of agenda, was blowing up at the time. Lucky rapping about popping pills and sipping lean, and he was our age, so it was much more influential. Whereas Future, a guy that was much older than him, who definitely had an effect on this entire wave starting, was also influential, but it just hit different when you hear somebody your age saying it. But this was an era of a lot of independent rappers being able to book shows and travel the world just off their name alone. I think at the time, everybody that listened to hip hop was just tired of the mainstream rappers and wanted to follow a wave that was more relatable. When Playboy Cardi said you could book him for $1,500, it was just enough to seem attainable for the average kid, especially in the hood, because when you see kids your age getting booked to do a show and they make a quick $1,500, like in high school, $1,500 seemed like $10,000, especially when you ain't got no bills and all you gotta do is buy some clothes and go shopping or but I know I'll have some people watching this that didn't really like this era at all. They might think it was dumb or not real music, but the truth is, it was just how a lot of people felt at the time. And it was music that many people also liked at the time. And not to mention, the era has its own name, so whether you liked it or not, it's just something that happened. I think every new era in music is outrageous to somebody. These were just the initial effects of social media and music becoming extremely intertwined, along with everything else social media brought, positive and negative. I talk a lot on this channel about situations where music and street activity coexisted, but this is the era that kind of sealed the deal for drill rappers getting big record deals. Of course, you still have some that got a deal after this era, but the biggest rappers are obviously the ones with the widest appeal to an audience. We probably won't see another Chief Keef getting a $6 million record deal. And today, it's like, yeah, you can rap about your block, but there are definitely some people out there that genuinely have no clue about street politics. So they wouldn't appreciate what you're saying in your songs because they don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I'm not saying I condone everything that happened in this era, I'm just saying it happened. But that's all I got for today, man. This is kind of a random video, but I thought you might appreciate it. But I'll see you next time.